Samuel. I'm the Director of Global Security and Disaster Management Limited. By background, I'm an international lawyer with expertise in both security and disaster risk management. So what are the most common weaknesses with current approaches to resilience planning? From a legal perspective, one of the things which concerns me most in terms of current approaches is the obligation of these entities under the principle of due diligence. And what due diligence requires both public and private sector entities to do is to protect the population and to protect the environment from harm. And failure to do so can result potentially in civil liability for damage caused to property and to persons, including loss of life, but also it could result in criminal liability as well. And that's not just the risk of corporate manslaughter, but increasingly there's some developing jurisprudence which would suggest that boardroom level directors should also be concerned to ensure that all of these steps are taken, that any weaknesses in governance where engineering reports highlight failures, that appropriate measures are taken. Another key weakness which can emerge is that there's a failure to take a fully integrated multi-hazard approach to different risk and threat scenarios. And this is especially true where you have the intersection between different risk and hazard types, such as in the context of hybrid threats or a NATEC. So a NATEC is where a natural disaster, such as an extreme weather event that results in flooding, it triggers a technological incident, such as damage to power grid and resultant failure. And why this is really important is that whilst you might not be able to stop and prevent the initial incident, it's reasonably foreseeable that should such events occur, that there will be concurrent, but also secondary and tertiary incidents, which can often be cascading. So like a snowball in terms of they can be more severe and impactful and catastrophic than the initial event. And one final key weakness that I'd like to identify at this stage is that there can be insufficient engagement and utilisation of legal tools which exist. And one of the challenges that I've experienced as an international lawyer working within this space is that often lawyers are not invited to be part of this conversation. And I have to confess to at times feeling a little bemused when I hear other sectors talking about inherently legal issues. Currently, there is a global roadmap known as the Sendai Framework on Disaster Risk Reduction, and that's aiming to prevent or mitigate disaster risk across all entities, public, private sector, community engagement, civil society, and so forth. And there's some key guiding principles of the Sendai Framework which are relevant to resilience planning. One that I'd like to highlight here is that it really encourages all key stakeholders to think much more multidimensionally, much more in terms of multidisciplinary, cross-sectoral and so forth, in order to ensure that we get the best possible, most comprehensive, effective resilience planning, disaster risk plans in place. Well, technological innovation offers extraordinary opportunities and very much needs to go hand in hand with resilience planning. And that can take many forms as it does already. So that can be crisis management tools, it can be GIS satellite technology, which identifies different types of disasters and the impacts, which is of tremendous benefit and widely used already. It can be UAVs, which are widely used within disaster contexts. And innovation is developing all of the time. But what I would end by suggesting is that such technological innovation needs to be in true collaborative partnership with all key stakeholders for it to reach its maximum effectiveness.